And now, your host, Couch Tomato!
Yeah, so speaking of the MCU, let's rank these babies. All right, so this is what we're going to do, Hope. We're going to talk about where does Thor Ragnarok rank against the other MCU films. The thing is, I want you to take your heart out of it. This is like opinions aside. This was the best to worst Marvel list, and it's really because of their impact on the MCU. So, and we're going to try to come up with some type of list. I know they say opinions are opinions, but you can pretty much book this as fact. And I'm joking, but you guys just feel free to let us know in the comment section. I think the easiest way to do that is go one by one down the list on, hey, is Thor Ragnarok better, less than, or equal to this movie? So first up, and we're going to go in the order of the MCU, obviously, Iron Man, their firstborn. Iron Man versus Thor Ragnarok.
Ooh. It's like the site with that not should be named scores kind of scares you a little bit, but I'm going to say no.
All right. Yeah, so I would say Iron Man is actually, I think when Iron Man came out, a lot of people thought Robert Downey Jr. was going to be nominated, you know, and I think other than Heath Ledger, that's probably one of the more, it's a creative take on, you know, a superhero that you've seen in a long time. And since then, every character has been a derivative of Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark. Even you could argue Thor, all he's doing is a Robert Downey Jr. impression in this movie. So I think it has the most impact in the MCU. Don't think it's the best film. However, I think it's no question, Iron Man is better than Thor Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Incredible Hulk, your favorite movie of all time.
Chill.
I'm joking, but
Thor Ragnarok is better.
I think it's better.
I think yeah.
Also, I think this movie gets a lot of hate, which it's not a bad movie. You know,
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I just think if people watch it recently, it still holds up. I think Mark Ruffalo's a better Hulk and Bruce Banner, but this movie, I remember liking it at the time. It just didn't do as well as it should have at the box office. So if you ignore the numbers, it's actually a pretty solid movie. So I agree with you on that. I'll say Thor Ragnarok is better than Incredible Hulk. So Iron Man 2.
Oh, Thor Ragnarok, easily.
I think it's Thor Ragnarok. I do think this is another movie that gets more hate than it should, but this is actually one of the most hated movies in the MCU. Once again, I don't understand why. I think they asked Jon Favreau to do a lot, juggle all these characters, which some directors still have an issue doing to this day, juggling characters. So, I just think Thor Ragnarok, more people will like this than they like Iron Man 2 because a lot of people hate Iron Man 2. So Thor, before the movie, Thor Ragnarok's release, I think it was no question, it was considered the best Thor movie. So Thor versus Thor Ragnarok, what's a better movie?
Thor Ragnarok, again, yeah.
All right, agree with you on there. I just think that they've progressed the characters. Also think that I didn't pay to see Thor in theaters. I saw it on Netflix when they used to do DVD rentals. So I felt like if I would have saw it in theaters, I would have probably hated this movie, but I liked it since I didn't have to pay for it like that. So Captain America First Avenger, another movie I saw in theaters that I wanted my money back, but it wasn't that bad.
Chill.
I know. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't something I should have seen in theaters. So I'm almost telling you how I feel. I think this is a good movie, but I don't, personally, I think Thor Ragnarok's a better film.
Yeah. I obviously like Captain America First Avenger more than you, but I would agree, like the fans, even myself, Thor Ragnarok is better. And
that, to be honest, Captain America First Avenger is a divisive film. Like, it's polarizing. The same amount of people who love it hate it. So, and there's like no in between with that film. So, moving on, Avengers, Thor Ragnarok, your thoughts?
Ooh, Avengers is still number one. Like that, it has a special place in the heart of a lot of fans. Like where it's just like, it's not just like the best MCU, but like the best comic book movie of all time for a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Not for me, but
no, for it is. It's like, okay, not for you because I know how much you love Christopher Nolan, but what Christopher Nolan did with that trilogy, this movie changed comic book movie making forever. Like, if there is no Days of Future Past without Avengers, there is no Justice League without Avengers. So next to Iron Man, it's the most impactful in the MCU. It beats out Iron Man because it influenced what other studios were doing. I think has some of the most defining moments as well. And definitely, I believe that Avengers I think it's the best movie in the MCU. I don't only think that it's better than Thor Ragnarok. So I agree with you there. Iron Man 3. This may be a difficult decision for you.
Like, clearly, this is a better third movie of a standalone. Like, Thor Ragnarok, just by far, it's not even close.
Yeah, Iron Man 3 is actually one of the most hated films in the MCU. I think it works well as a Christmas movie, but outside of that, it's not that good of a movie.
And thank you for that. That's the only way I can watch it now. It's like when I think of it's like it's okay.
I watch it every December, along with my, Kiss Kiss Bang Bangs and all of those other Christmas movies, A Christmas Story. I'm like, hey, this works as a Christmas movie. It sucks as a comic book film. So that's how I actually tricked myself into liking it. So Thor the Dark World versus Thor Ragnarok.
Ooh, another one. Thor Ragnarok. Thor Dark
Easy.
World is,
I don't think the worst. It's the worst out of the MCU. So I think, and that's when, hey, true or false? When everybody has the same opinion, is it fact?
Yeah, it should be.
All right, because everybody says this movie sucks. And all right, Winter Soldier versus Thor Ragnarok.
Like, I was watching Winter Soldier the other night. Like, it still holds up. So like Winter Soldier to me is better.
You don't have to be an apologetic about this. I think it's no question. I think it's leaps and bounds better than Thor Ragnarok. I think it's one of the better comic book movies ever made. And it's probably stuck in the wrong universe, because if you take that movie out the MCU universe, you're competing with Dark Knight and some of these other films. Yeah. So I'm like, I thought that was one of their best. It's probably their best made movie from a stylistic and also genre standpoint, and most creative too. But it's just, it's better than Thor Ragnarok. It's just not better than at least 2 or 3 comic book movies on this current list, and we'll talk about that later. So moving on, Guardians of the Galaxy versus Thor Ragnarok. I really want to hear your opinion on this.
Ooh, this is tough, man.
Remember, you got to keep your own personal feelings out of it, and you got to try to guess for the audience.
All right, since I'm guessing for the audience, I'm gonna go for Ragnarok, just because the response has been so high. Because it's like
you judging that off of a week?
It's like, I don't know. I'm starting to see it.
Because Guardians of the Galaxy, it came in at like 96 on the site that should not be named too. So, and nobody talks about that movie anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Because it's just like, I don't know. Because it's just like the response has been so good. Like, not just like on the sites not be named. Because I just thought like, okay, maybe the stats a little overbloated. Because to me personally, I don't consider this a 90% movie. I
do actually. All it means is if you talk to 10 people, 9 people will like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you like, okay, if you talk to one person on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody will give it a 9.
Yeah.
If I talk to 10 people, I think 10 people will like this movie. Like, I don't see somebody hating this movie. I see them having problems with it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that about other Marvel movies though. That's why I think sometimes that aggregator count is off, because I'm like, if I talk to 10 people, 3 of them are gonna hate this movie. But with Thor Ragnarok, I think you have like 2 or 3 problems wrong with the film, but other than that, I don't think it's enough to hate the film. I agree with the score. Now, leave the score out of it because you can't really use that as a gauge. I think you already gave me your answer technically. You said it sounds like you're leaning towards Thor Ragnarok, but you're just scared to do it. All right. I think Guardians, I think a lot of people will agree, Guardians had more of an impact than Thor Ragnarok will have an impact. Like, Guardians had like wives all over America going back to watch old episodes of Parks and Rec, to where they didn't have the luxury of launching off of a trilogy. Like, Thor had Dark World and Thor had Thor. So people already know Chris Hemsworth. You're talking about a film nobody knew, and it's in the conversation as one of the best Marvel movies. I think that's very difficult to do. Like, I grew up listening to, the greatest hits of Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, like those old school radio stations like Hot 105 in South Florida. So all of the songs on there I knew, but a lot of these kids didn't. And the soundtrack became something that was like, important for a movie. Back then, you remember soundtracks used to be everything, like Bodyguard, Waiting to Excel. you get Babyface to do the soundtrack or something, Boomerang, and I'm just naming a couple of movies, but nobody cares about soundtracks anymore. It's about scores. So it's like this movie bought the soundtrack back. I'm going with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think that in a year, we'll go back to this conversation, but I think a year from watching Guardians of the Galaxy, it was more buzz around it than a year from Thor. And we just don't know yet. But I think a lot of people will agree Guardians of the Galaxy is a better movie than Thor Ragnarok. So,
can I switch? I agree with you.
And all right, and they had an Infinity Stone. Honestly, some of the better movies in the MCU have to have an Infinity Stone to be considered, one of the best. But I'm joking on that. But all right, moving on. One of my favorite movies of the MCU, but it gets a lot of hate. So this is going to be an easy decision for me. Avengers: Age of Ultron versus Thor.
Oh yeah, easy for me. Thor Ragnarok. But I'm with you though. Age of Ultron is not as bad as people thought. I think it was just like Whedon fatigue, and it was just like a lot of hate for no reason.
And they hate it more because of Twitter comments. Like I love Joss Whedon, and that's because I love the guy since Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm not even talking about the show. I'm talking about that horrible movie with Luke Perry. And so I've been following his career since then, and yeah, so I don't know if I'm biased from that standpoint, but I really didn't have any issues with the movie. But I think it's no question the movie-going audience will love Thor Ragnarok more than they love that movie, because a lot of people don't love that movie, they hate it. So Ant-Man.
Thor Ragnarok
as well. Remember, a lot of people like this movie. A lot of people love it.
That's true. Sure? That's true, but Thor is just, a bigger character. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
well, that's not fair. His name is Ant-Man. Boom, boom. All right. So, yeah, I agree with you, though. Like, I think Thor Ragnarok is a superior film. Civil War.
Once again, it's tough. Okay, this one's tough because I'm trying to think, because a lot of people like Civil War. But I'm still going to go with Thor Ragnarok. It's tough because, like, me personally, it's easy.
It's a tough
easy.
job.
Yeah, it's easy for me, but
yeah, it's easy for me too. I didn't like Civil War, but when I talk to people, I'm like, no, it's a good movie. I personally didn't like it because I'm looking for certain things in movies that weren't there. So you're doing two things right now. You're trying to guess for the audience, but you're also putting your feelings aside, and you're looking at both movies and saying, hey, this is a better movie. It had more of an impact on the MCU. And Civil War, regardless of my problems with the film, they introduced so many characters that are going to be controlling factors at the back end of Phase 3 as well as Phase 4. So it's like, this movie is very impactful. It's a defining moment in the MCU as a whole. I think Civil War is more important and better than Thor Ragnarok. I just don't like the movie. So that's me. So, and we both agree. Civil War. That war was civil as hell, because nobody, I'm talking about nobody was in danger other than the people in that war. So moving on. Doctor Strange.
Thor Ragnarok. But I really like.
It's a close call too for me.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You're right. It is Thor Ragnarok. I love Doctor Strange. It's actually one of my favorite movies in this phase, but so is Thor Ragnarok. But once again, this movie almost gets penalized because same reason I told you that Guardians benefited. They knocked it out of the ballpark. A character you didn't know, and it's his first initial film, and they break records. Doctor Strange really didn't have that impact. So I even though Thor has the luxury of coming off of 2 standalone movies, I definitely think it knocked out its third installment better than Doctor Strange knocked out his first. So moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And the reason I tell you be careful, because you brought up this when you were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. You said, well, there's so much buzz around the movie right now. There was a lot of buzz around Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Mention that at a get-together or a group chat with your friends. Nobody cares about the movie anymore. Am I the only one that realizes that?
You're not.
So much people were like, it's better than the original. I'm like, it's not. And then 2 weeks after the movie's released, nobody cares about it anymore. Everybody thinks it's garbage. Not garbage, but it's like, it's not as good as people were touting, like, upon initial release. So Guardians of the Galaxy 2 versus Thor Ragnarok.
I'm gonna go with Thor Ragnarok just because, like you said, like the momentum just died. I don't know if it's because of did Wonder Woman come out first or
I don't remember, but I don't. That soundtrack wasn't even hitting. Like,
yeah, like
so it's like I'm just like, okay, this is like top 40 playlist 101. You know, you gave me some. You at least gave me some. You know, discreet. And I don't know, because I'm a music lover, I was able to notice like, oh, they done, dug the bottom of the archive for this one, because I haven't heard this song in a minute. With this one, I'm like, wow, this is kind of like on everybody's playlist, and you put Flashlight at the end instead of in the movie. Come on, man, you guys are tripping. So for I just felt like I knew upon watching it my first time, like, this movie's overhyped. Thor Ragnarok isn't. So I think Thor is gonna live up to the buzz after a couple weeks in theaters, where Guardians died. And Spider-Man Homecoming, this movie's polarizing. Is it just me, or a lot of people don't like Spider-Man Homecoming?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like it's like you said, like either people really love it, or I don't want to say really hate it, but
I
it's
didn't
just
know
like
that. What did I say the best Spider-Man movie was?
You said it was 2.
I said it was 2, and I thought up to this point people would not take my reviews too serious, because the idea is 24 reasons so and so is equal to so and so. It's basically saying, hey, the same reasons you love a movie is the same reason somebody hates it, but vice versa, the same reason somebody hates a movie, it's the same reason you love it. So technically there's no such thing as a bad movie. And yeah, I did 24 reasons, and I compared Homecoming to the trilogy. Keep in mind, my favorite movie is 2, but I don't think Homecoming is that far off from 2. But that's when I realized a lot of people don't like Homecoming. Like, I'm just like, whoa, I thought people liked this film. But a lot of people in the comment section let me know that, hey man, this film is, horrible. And I'm like, it's a good movie. To me, I thought it's one of the stronger films in the Phase 3. And if you compare it to Phase 2, Phase 1, it's still a strong film. So I want to hear what you think. Spider-Man Homecoming versus Thor Ragnarok.
Dang, this is tough.
I done scared you into making an answer.
I think I'm gonna lean towards Spider-Man, because I think it set up the origin so well, and because of it. But
it is a Spider-Man origin story.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that. Technically, we've seen that already 3 times, because Spider-Man was an origin story. The Amazing Spider-Man was an origin story. Surprisingly, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was another origin story. So it's like, this is like the 4th. Oh, we also got, we didn't really get it in Civil War.
I mean, kinda.
Yeah,
that was like our first.
All right, so this is your 5th. This is your 5th origin story in the last 17 years. And so it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm leaning towards Thor Ragnarok, and I kind of tricked you into picking that. But I think Thor. I knew what I was doing, but I think people are going to agree that Thor Ragnarok is a better film than Spider-Man Homecoming. I like Spider-Man Homecoming, but the difference in that movie is, if you watch it a second time, man, nothing happens in that movie. I always say it's a John Hughes film, and it's like a new school version of that. But when you're watching a comic book movie and all you're dealing with is teen drama, it's nice to see one time, but if it's not a movie I could watch like twice a year. It's just like, I try to make my kids watch it. If you're not 13 and older, you're not gonna like that movie. Like, so that's where I understand where some of the hate comes from. But I think Thor is one of those movies you could actually watch it a couple of times just off of that Thor versus Hulk scene.
Yeah, that's true.
This is my personal ranking of these lists, because we just said what is better. If I had to guess, and what I'll do is I'll put like a poll on the YouTube video to really see, but I bet you I'm gonna get it on the money. If I had to guess what people are gonna vote.
You like tomato?
And you like tomato?
Potato?